Some people have wanted to know more about the program itself, and I've noticed that a number of people have been asking about this oddly titled first piece on the program, the Kakadu Variations by Beethoven. And I thought I would just tell you a little bit about it in the way of introducing the piece. I think the interesting thing about it really is, beyond its title, the fact that it represents all three periods of Beethoven's compositional development, early, middle, and late. And I'll tell you how that evolved. When he was a young composer in the 1790s in Vienna, he was making his way as the hottest young pianist, composer in town, and he wrote and improvised a lot of sets of variations on the popular operatic tunes of the day. These were accessible, everybody was humming them in the streets of Vienna. And so they made good choices for pieces that he himself could perform in the aristocratic salons of the movers and shakers of the day. And the most popular comic opera of the 1790s was one that we never hear anymore. It was called The Sisters of Prague by a gentleman named Wenzel Müller. And as you see from your program booklet, the title of the hit song was Ich bin der Schneider Kakadu, which means I am the tailor Kakadu. It was the first entrance aria of one of the main characters. And I thought it would be useful for you to know the tune itself, and I was hoping I could find a recording of the song on which it's based, but it doesn't seem to be available anymore. So I will just play you the opening bars of Beethoven's arrangement of this tune so you have it in your head. As you hear, it is very chirpy and cheery and charming. And I wonder, does it remind you of something? Because if it does, you probably have this subliminal association with another chirpy, cheery, charming tune about another birdman, this one named Papageno. And I figure Wenzel Müller must have known that tune well and decided maybe he would write his own along those lines. Certainly, Beethoven would have known both of these tunes because they were being sung and whistled and hummed everywhere he went in mid-1790s Vienna. So he decided to write matching sets of variations upon them. And on the Papageno tune, he set it for cello and piano and published it in 1796. The one on the Kakadu tune, he set for violin, cello, and piano. And for reasons we don't know, he put off submitting it to his publisher until 1803. And by that time, the opera had gone. The Sisters of Prague were no longer in Vienna. And so Breitkopf and Härtel, his publisher, said, well, no thanks. And so he put this early form of the Kakadu variations on the shelf, and it just sat there for the next 11 years or so. Then in 1814, the Sisters of Prague returned to Vienna for a revival. And once again, everybody was singing the Kakadu song everywhere Beethoven went, and perhaps that was the impetus for him to take it off the shelf, blow the dust off of it, and to revise it according to his middle period style of composition. And so he expanded the introduction a huge amount. It now constitutes about a third the length of the piece. It's almost like a full movement in itself. And as you will hear, the tune I just played for you is very cheery and chirpy, but the long introduction is quite portentous and dark and brooding, and it seems on the face of it to have little to do with that tune. But if you listen carefully, you will hear fragments of that tune bubbling up from deep within in G minor. Very diabolical. I mean, the cockatoo of the Baskervilles or something. And so in this revised form, he resubmitted it to Breitkopf and Härtel, and they rejected it for one reason or another. So back it went on to the shelf, and it sat there for another 10 years. And then finally, in 1824, just as he was completing such late life masterpieces as the Ninth Symphony and the Missa Solemnis, for reasons we don't know, he pulled them off the shelf one last time and tried to tinker with them so that they would represent this final period. And as you'll hear at the end, after the 10th variation, there's a moment where it suddenly launches into a very severe 4-part double fugue, again in this dark key of G minor. And as I was listening to this the other day, I suddenly realized that it reminded me of something, which is the second movement of the Ninth Symphony. I have no idea whether this was intentional or not, but both of these passages are very emblematic of the kind of tightly woven contrapuntal music that was an emblem of his late period. So, as I say, this piece is really an interesting amalgamation of early, middle, and late, and now you know the backstory, and I will tell you, finally, his publisher decided to publish it. So, you will enjoy the piece at the hands of the Zukerman Trio, and you will enjoy the entire afternoon, and I will too from my chair over here. So have a wonderful day